Welcome back to the college lineup. I'm Eli.
And I am Carson, episode number 27 of the college lineup coming at you. We are the night before the Men's College World Series, arguably my favorite college sporting events of the whole entire year. I love the College World Series. If you've been listening the past couple months, it's no secret here that me and Eli are big college baseball fans. So without further ado, let's first off hit on last week's Super Regional games, and then let's move into our Omaha predictions for the weekend. What do you say, Eli?
Yeah, let's do it. But right before we do that, just peep our backgrounds. I thought they were pretty well thought out there. We definitely created these on our own. Was not a Chat GPT thing by any means. Um, anyway, I just thought they were
Yeah,
cool.
you
And
can definitely not tell which one of us has ChatGPT Premium and which one
uh,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah, you can't by any means there. Yeah, we definitely I definitely don't pay for it or anything like that. I don't know, who would do that, obviously, but
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid.
anyway, we're obviously at a different location from each other. It's been pretty busy last couple of weeks with everything going on, and it's hard to find time to meet up sometimes. But hopefully that'll change here this summer as things maybe slow down a little bit or get more crowded. I'm not sure. We'll find out there. But like Carson said, we'll go ahead and get into the recap of the super regionals.
All righty, so let's just go ahead and start off with probably the biggest onslaught of a super regional we had. West Virginia and Cal Poly. So West Virginia did take this super regional matchup 2-0. They won the Friday night game 12-2,
Yeah.
and they won the Saturday game 17-1. So if you watched the series like me and Eli did, or you at least kept up with it, you're going to ask the question: did Cal Poly deserve to be there? To that, Eli, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic for that because on one end you're like, okay, Cal Poly must be really bad, which is that the case? That's really what it looked like to me. I don't want to not give West Virginia the credit they deserve for playing so well there, but at the same time, it's like, come on, guys, this is a super regional, and y'all are getting killed by this much. So I think it was more of a Cal Poly not playing super well rather than a West Virginia just being really good. Because I think we'll be surprised in Omaha. Let's see, who do they play? They play Troy, so maybe they won't be surprised in Omaha. Well, it'll be interesting to find out, that's for sure. But Troy may be a little bit better. Obviously, we'll get to them here in a second. But I really just think that Cal Poly was just that bad and that West Virginia wasn't just that good. But I definitely think it helps that they did hit quite a bit of home runs. A grand slam was in there, a 3-run home run at times. So hitting the long ball definitely helped them. But obviously, want to give credit where credit is due. I think West Virginia obviously deserves to be in Omaha, but so far, the Super Regionals and what it looks like to be in Omaha versus Troy may be a little bit easier of a route than what some of these teams may have in Omaha.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely kind of a tale of two different stories there. A lot of people think and believe that Cal Poly shouldn't have been there. But on the flip side, you have a team that found a way to get there. You have a team that went to the Los Angeles Regional there
Yeah,
and won their way through, beat Virginia Tech to open that regional. Then they also beat St. Mary's twice, who beat the number one and arguably one of the most disappointing teams of the entire year in UCLA. So
yeah,
they did earn the right to be there, but I think ultimately, like you said, I think they just didn't play that well. I think West Virginia was on their game, and honestly, I think they
yeah,
just kind of ran out of steam. We see that a lot with these teams. I think
yeah,
the team they beat, St. Mary's, to get to the Super Regionals, also kind of in the same boat. They went toe to toe with UCLA a couple of different times, and so I think Cal Poly just got a really good luck of the draw there that they faced a really defeated St. Mary's team to kind of push their way to the Super Regional. So no discredit to Cal Poly on my end. But definitely, they were not playing to the caliber West Virginia has. So that's why we see West Virginia taking those two super regional games easy there. So
Yeah.
let's move on here. Another Friday, Saturday super regional matchup we had was North Carolina, and my laptop decided it wanted to be slow loading up the scores there. Eli, do you have those North Carolina scores pulled up?
Yeah, North Carolina versus USC. USC did take game one. UNC did force a game three there, and then UNC ended up winning in game three. I don't think I have the stats right here in front of me, but USC, we can just kind of go into it, and if you do get those scores pulled up, you can let us know what the ending score was. I can kind of talk through and tell y'all about all the different games, but USC won it. I think it was a close one, if I'm not mistaken, in game one. And I'd picked North Carolina to win this one. I was like, or the series. I was like, oh man, this is not good. I don't need to lose this pick. Nonetheless, UNC was able to force a game three, and they ended up coming back. I think they were down two going into the ninth, or one. It may have been one, and then they went to tie the game. Went on to tie the game in the bottom of the ninth, and then walk it off in the top of the ninth, or again in the bottom of the ninth. They ended up walking it off to win. So North Carolina has just been finding a way to win. They have not just blown out many teams throughout this whole playoff process. But they have found a way to win, and I really think that they have a good chance at winning the whole thing just because they have just a up and down. They have a good lineup, whether it be fielding, hitting, pitching, whatever that looks like. They're a good bullpen. They just have a very complete team. So I think they are definitely one of the teams we have to look out for in Omaha. For the USC team, obviously it was a great fight. Making it to a super regional in general is still really, really tough. So being able to do that, hats off to you guys. But North Carolina ultimately was able to pull out with 2 out of 3 there. And so I think that they definitely could be one of the toughest teams mentally, at least with a couple of comebacks and close games there. So Carson, what are your thoughts on this series, and did you ever end up pulling up those scores?
Yeah, I did. So this actually was a three-gamer super regional here. North
Yeah.
Carolina lost game one 9-5. They won the Saturday game 4-0, and they won the Sunday game 4-3 there. So winning the Saturday and Sunday games 4-0, 4-3, and losing the first game 9-5 there. So this is a North Carolina team so far that has been a pretty definitely not average, obviously, in the College World Series, but I would
Right.
say they're one of those teams that we've had a hard time judging this year just because we haven't seen them play really the super high level caliber of baseball and some different teams there. We saw them drop the game to Georgia Tech in the ACC
Yeah.
championship there, as
Yeah.
expected. We looked at Georgia Tech all year as a super strong potential College World Series team there that I was really surprised to see not make it out of their regional there to Oklahoma. So then we also saw this North Carolina team get to host a regional, and they did very well there. They fought off some great teams in that regional. They beat Eastern Carolina twice, which is a great team, and they also fought off VCU there. Tennessee was also in that regional. We've kind of discussed that in the past too. Big shocking exit there. But anyway, moral of the story, this was a North Carolina team that just been very hard to judge all year. They've kind of been as expected, but we still really didn't have a good idea of how good they can be. And
Yeah.
the Super Regional against USC is really just another example of that. They come out and drop the first game, and then they kind of don't show too much the rest of the series. They do just enough to get by. So I think
Yeah.
this North Carolina team is going to be a very fun team to watch in Omaha now. Finally, a true test fit to see how good this North Carolina team is. And I think for me, they're kind of the sleeper team of
Yeah.
Omaha, if at least on my radar. So nothing too crazy there. Just kind of a hard analysis from a sports fan perspective and
Right.
college baseball fan perspective. There, I think there are still a lot of questions to be answered for North Carolina, but I love the baby blue, so I'll roll with it all the
Yeah.
time, and I'll take them as my
Yeah.
sleeper pick in Omaha this week.
Yeah, and I think too, you talk about how, they haven't really shown what they're capable of. Some games they do, some games they don't. They've been pretty wishy-washy, and I will agree with you on that. But I think too, you got to think that, they made it through regional. They made it through a super regional. So they do definitely have a lot of grit. And like you said, you do kind of pick them as your sleeper team. I wouldn't even necessarily call them a sleeper team, in my opinion. I've been high on North Carolina all season, especially when we did the King of the Hill. I can't remember if I ended up picking them all the way, but I think I picked them pretty far when we did the top 25 King of the Hill. So I'm glad that's paying off a little bit for me there. But I definitely think that they have the tools. It's just whether or not are they going to have enough on games in Omaha to be able to make it to compete for the national championship. And like Carson was saying, that's kind of the big question. Have they put it together? Because grit will only get you so far. You still got to put up the runs and shut down and have shutdown pitching for the most part. So it will be very interesting to see how North Carolina fares in Omaha.
Hey, well, I'll let you pick out your next favorite super regional matchup here. Which one stuck out to you?
Yeah, I really liked the Ole Miss Auburn series. I thought it was a very good series. I did not have Ole Miss actually making it. I had Auburn winning, and I think Carson, if I'm not mistaken, I think we both had Auburn winning that series. So in that series, we kind of had to take a step back because you weren't very high on Auburn the whole season, but then you finally decided you were going to be a little bit high on them, and then they disappointed you. And with me, I was just kind of like, they look good. They've played good so far, so I'm going to stick with them as well. But ultimately, Ole Miss really showed that they could beat Auburn. I think they beat them in 2 games too, if I'm not mistaken. There, they won the first one 6-4, and then they won the second one 5-3. So it could be another Ole Miss magical run like they had in, I think it was 2022 when they won the whole thing. And so it'll be very interesting to see. I think they definitely have it in them because Auburn is a very good team. They have been, back and forth. But as we've talked about, really, who hasn't been this season? For the most part, UCLA was the only team who hadn't been too wishy-washy, and they're knocked out. Or maybe you could even say Georgia Tech, but I would even fair to say they were pretty wishy-washy this season, especially when I picked them. But nonetheless, I think Ole Miss is good. But, I mean, besides, I don't know, maybe Troy and maybe West Virginia, I think all these other teams have a very, very good shot at winning the whole thing. So it's going to be a fun few games, or a lot of games really, to watch in Omaha and see who pulls it out. But overall, very, very fun series to watch. It was close. If I'm not mistaken, all the games in the Supers, it felt like they kept getting weather delays every time. It'd be like, oh, we got to the 7th inning. Oh, a 4-hour rain delay. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to bed, or I turn it off, and then it finally starts back, and it's like, well, this isn't as exciting anymore. But the Ole Miss Auburn series stayed very exciting. Hate it for Auburn fans. They did have a good run, but they've been pretty solid the past few years, and I think that's still gonna be par for the course for the next couple of seasons. So that's all I have for that game. Carson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this Auburn team, we've talked about it all years. It was also, I mean, we talked about North Carolina being hard to judge, but Auburn falls
Yeah,
right in that same boat too. Had a really kind of slow start to the season. We saw them really pick it up towards the end of the year. This is a team with a great offense. We saw them in the regionals though. I mean, it was like clockwork. They'd get
yeah,
down really, really big, and then they'd end up, scoring a ton of runs, and they'd end up trying to come back. I know their first regional game, they played that smaller school, the 4 seed in their regional, and they were down
yeah,
10-0 in the after 4 innings,
yeah,
and almost clawed their way back. So that's just really been kind of the story of this Auburn team all year: is get out ahead, let the offense do the work, and find a way to win games here. But we just see Ole Miss completely dominate, pitching wise. I mean, they shut this Auburn offense down in a way that I really didn't think they would. Like you said, Auburn was actually both of our picks there, and I fully expected Auburn to win this game, but
yeah,
holding this Auburn team to only 4 runs the one game, then 3 the next, I mean, you deserve a trip to Omaha at that point, just
yeah.
with how good this Auburn team is, especially doing it in Auburn in their own park there. That really is a truly incredible feat. Ole Miss is just a team that knows how to play postseason baseball, You talked about their World Series trip a couple of years ago. They were one of the last 4 teams in the College World Series field, or the postseason field there too, when they made that run, ended up winning the College World Series. So when it comes down to it, I guess it's my fault for sleeping on Ole Miss come June. It's just a team that knows how to play postseason baseball, and I'd look for them to make a big splash in Omaha this weekend.
For sure.
So let's move on here. We'll go ahead and hit another one here. We have some good ones that I'm saving for last. Let's go ahead and talk about Oklahoma and Kansas here. So Oklahoma did end up winning the series here. They won the Saturday game 8-1, and then they won the Sunday game 13-2 here. So not much doubt here by the Sooners. They are definitely hot right now, and they are definitely probably the hottest team going into the College World Series this weekend. Eli, what do you think?
Yeah, I got burned on this. I got burnt on this pick. That was the one pick that I was like, I think Kansas, which ultimately wasn't really an upset at all. Kansas was actually ranked higher than Oklahoma was. So I thought, while a lot of people were high on Oklahoma, I was like, this is one where I felt a little bit safer to go and pick Kansas because Oklahoma had been on such of a run, and I just kind of thought that they would kind of burn out and lose steam. But now that they have, they've had a whole week to rest, they're going to be dangerous in Omaha, I fear. But they just hit a offensive onslaught against Kansas. Unfortunately for Kansas, this was their first super regional in school history to host. So I bet that was fun, and it looked like they brought a big crowd every time they showed a picture of or a video of all the crowd. It looked pretty packed in there. But so I hate that for Kansas that they could not move on to Omaha after hosting their first super regional in school history. But for Oklahoma, they've gone on this magical run so far, and they could definitely be a sleeper team here. But I don't know if it's as much as a sleeper team anymore because people are starting to wake up on them and starting to realize that Oklahoma, they can play. They can play baseball. And so they're just as hot as any team right now. And Ole Miss has been hot as well, but they definitely have been just as hot, if not one of the hottest teams that have kept it going. But it is going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to keep that full head of steam in Omaha, especially now that it's the top 8 best teams in college baseball, and every team has proven that so far.
For sure, yeah. I think Oklahoma is definitely a team that nobody really wants to play here, but let's just be honest, this whole College World Series bracket is just stacked all the way through. I mean, I don't want to play any of these teams, to be honest with you there. So I look for Oklahoma to come out swinging, come out throwing some fists there, and we'll see how it holds up in Omaha. It is a bigger ballpark. With the offense we've seen from Oklahoma so far, it might not hold up.
Yep.
We've seen teams like Tennessee in the past be big home run hitting teams that struggle in Omaha. So you never know. But we'll save that stuff for the prediction segment here a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide versus St. John's out of New York here. St. John's coming down south into T-Town here. Alabama did win the first game on Saturday 8-0. Then they won the Sunday game that continued into Monday for 6 outs. They won that game 7-2. Like Eli said, this Super Regional was definitely affected by weather there. They ended up having to play a couple outs that Monday morning just to be able to finish that Sunday game off there. But Eli, what do you think about the Crimson Tide and the St. John's matchup?
Well, first off, I'd be afraid of Alabama, but like we've already established, again, I would be afraid of every team in Omaha except maybe Troy, and I don't want to hate on Troy, but I just don't see any way. Maybe. And I mean I'll back it up, and I'll sit here and apologize if Troy does well in Omaha. And obviously they've made it to Omaha, and that's more than I can say because Vandy didn't make it to Omaha. They didn't even make the playoffs this year. So nonetheless, I think this was a fun series to watch. It kind of showed how good Alabama can be when they're really good, and they've been really good the last half of the season, or the last third of the season, last quarter of the season, whatever you want to put there. They've been really good. They've been really tough to beat, almost unbeatable. And they've had a really good series. Had a really good series versus St. John's and winning the first two, so they didn't even have to play a third series or a third game in the series. But what I thought was really neat and really interesting is Alabama hasn't reached Omaha since 1999. So that's 27 years, or this would be the 27th year drought of making it to Omaha. And that just means that, hey, the coach knows what he's doing. Obviously, NIL has helped with that. It's made everybody have more of a level playing field. That's why these different teams that maybe you wouldn't expect make it as far all of a sudden really do make it a lot further. But I think Alabama, I think the guy you really got to look out for is Justin LeBron. I mean, he has just tore it up. I saw one play where he created his own double play at shortstop there, and he was able to get to second and throw it at first. And I was like, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's really solid. So I think Alabama, obviously looks like they're having a historic season. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that up here in Omaha.
Yeah, for sure. Alabama is just one of the teams that has nothing to lose and everything to gain. So
Yeah,
they're just having fun out there. I mean, we saw that Saturday game. Tyler Fay for Alabama, who walked on to Alabama originally as a pitcher, to go out there and shove. I think he got through about 7 1/4 innings or right at that mark. Just go out there and just have fun. I mean, his stuff was disgusting. He's been pretty solid this year. Had the big no hitter against Florida earlier in the year there, but also,
yeah,
then played Florida again later in the year and struggled there. So it's good to see him in full postseason form here again in the Super Regional there. So he really coasted Alabama to that big win on Saturday. And it just looked like, honestly, like St. John's had no wind in their sails the entire weekend.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if that was, from getting shut down off the bat from Tyler Fay, and then you're already down a game to a hot Alabama team in Tuscaloosa, and it just never garnered any momentum there. But, I mean, it just looked like the wind was out of their sails from game one, first pitch. So
Yeah.
for me, not as good of a watch as some of the other ones, but as an
Yeah.
Alabama fan, selfishly, I'm very happy. Very, very
Right.
happy there. Rob Vaughn has done a great job with that team. He's only been there 3 years, and
Yeah.
coming off of Coach Bohannon, who had his fair share of consequences coaching Alabama there. I
Maybe
saw
get
actually,
fired or something.
yeah,
Maybe.
something like that. I actually saw on Twitter now he's a medical sales rep, and he's using his Alabama coaching headshot as his LinkedIn headshot. So he's almost at 300 connections. If you want to go,
Made it in the world.
if you want to go connect with him on LinkedIn, he's still not to the 500 plus yet. But anyway, excited to watch Alabama. Like I said, nothing to lose, everything to gain. They haven't been there.
Yeah.
Last time they were there, me and Eli weren't even born yet.
This is true.
And which also means none of the players on the team were born yet either.
Right.
So they have no memory of Alabama playing in the College World Series. So they're just having fun. They are running into that red hot Oklahoma team, which, like me and Eli said, we'll talk about that in the prediction segment.
That'll be a fun series.
It's going to be good. Great Super Regional performance from Alabama there. Kind of killed St. John's from the start. Overall, 10 out of 10 performance. Not much else I would say on that one.
The only gripe that I have with the Alabama Crimson Tide is that they keep wearing those ugly digital camo uniforms. I don't know why they keep wearing those. Maybe it's good mojo. They've played well. They made it all the way to Omaha. But I mean, I would like to see some different jersey choices going into Omaha, just personally. I don't know how you feel about those jerseys, but Alabama strikes me as kind of like, like their football team. They don't change it up much. But and it's fine if they do change it up, but I'm just not a big fan of that digital camo on Crimson.
Yeah, I've never met anybody that is, and I'm definitely not. I love our crimson jerseys. I love our white jerseys. They're staples. I would love to see us go to like a gray or a black with the old
Yeah,
Alabama Vault logo. Like, I don't know if
yeah,
you've seen the Alabama softball team. They have gray jerseys with that old Alabama A
yeah.
on one side of it. I love
That'd
that. I
be
wish
neat.
baseball would do something similar. Yeah, let's just all say those digital camo ones are they just stick out like a sore thumb in the worst way possible. And
Yeah.
so yeah, they're rough. But I mean, if you win the College World Series, ain't no one care what uniform you're wearing. So
This is also true.
um, yeah, my vote and Eli's vote, get those things as far away from the baseball field as possible. Get those things out of Tuscaloosa. there's too much money funneling through that university to be rolling the baseball team out there in digital camo jerseys. But anyway, we'll save that conversation for when me and Eli talk to Greg Byrne, the Alabama AD. When we have that interview set up, or in a couple months when we get that set up, we'll bring that up for
July
sure.
17th or something like that.
Yeah, I forgot to write that down. Well, my secretary forgot to write that down. My fault.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, I'll write down. No, don't worry. July 17th. I hope I'm not busy that day. I might have to get Greg to reschedule. Anyway, moving on here. Last few super regional matchups. We will stay to an SEC matchup here. We have Oregon and Texas here. So Texas did win in this super regional overall. And moving on, they won their Saturday game 11-3 over the Ducks, and they won the Sunday game 6-5. Oregon did make it closer than expected, or at least a lot of people expected there. And so, Eli, what do you think about these Longhorns moving on to Omaha?
Yeah, well, it's par for the course. This is actually their 39th time to reach Omaha, so they have a very historical past on reaching Omaha. So it is nothing short of expectation now for Texas. Kind of like they're maybe even more than what Vandy is or what Vandy was. I don't know if they still are, but it's interesting anyway. Nonetheless, there. But I think Texas has been one of the most well-rounded teams this season. Like North Carolina, they have that pitching, they have the hitting, they have the fielding, they have everything you would want. Sometimes it's like, if our pitching's good, maybe our hitting's not as good, or our hitting's good and our pitching's not as good. But they got it all facets of their game very locked in. So it'll be interesting to see. But like a UCLA team, we may have thought that too, but they got put out in the regional. So it's like, you can't really judge on anything once you get to Omaha, it's 0-0. Your season doesn't matter anymore. Obviously, you had to have a good season to get there, and you had to win the regional, super regional to get there. But now it's just, hey, we're sitting down, we're locking in. It's 0-0. It's best of. Well, you got pool play games, and then after that, you'll have a best of however many. But double elimination and all that fun stuff. So it's like you just got to win, keep winning, and if you can win those first two games, you should have a pretty easy ride all the way. But if you lose the first one or you go 1-1, it's going to be very interesting. And obviously we will talk about that a little later. But overall, it was a fun weekend to watch. But Texas is going to be Texas. And again, they've won it they've made it to Omaha for the 39th time. They've been one of the most consistent programs in college baseball history, up there with Vandy, and Ole Miss has been good. Mississippi State even probably more so. But they aren't going to flash you. They're not going to be well. I hope they don't flash you, but they're not very flashy. They just do. They have a very fundamentally sound baseball. So I think they're a great team. Hate it for the Oregon fans. I'm sure Oregon would obviously love to make it to Omaha, but nonetheless, Texas did what they needed to do.
Yeah, Texas is just dominant. I like the way you put it. Par for the course is pretty much how I would describe this Texas team. Everyone expected them to make Omaha. Really no surprises there. I know in the first game against Oregon, they had back-to-back home runs to start the game, and I remember thinking to myself, like that's it. Like, that's all I needed to see. Like that's it, ball game. They come out and they did everything we expected them to do. Oregon's done, and I felt like off the bat it was over with. It was interesting to see a little bit of life left in Oregon. That second game there, but part of that is, they are fighting for their season. But like you said, par for the course. Texas is good. No one's going to sit here and say they don't think Texas is good or Texas has been hard to judge. No, Texas is good. It's going to take a lot to beat them, and it's going to take a whole lot of crazy stuff to happen for Texas to play bad. Put it that way. I will say, after watching this Texas-Oregon Super Regional game, the one gripe I have with them, their field is ugly as crap. Holy smokes. They've got like the turf, but it's all like grass looking turf, and the only dirt looking turf, is that the way to put it, is around the bases. So they have like a circle of orange turf around home plate and third, second, first, and the pitcher's mound is dirt. But, I mean, holy smokes. I mean, it looks like a wiffle ball field that a Florence,
Yeah.
Alabama would build in their city park.
It- yes, actually. Yeah. But the funny thing is too, like, well, I don't know how you feel about it if it was all dirt and grass, like real. But I like the concept. I do at least. I know playing baseball, it's not as practical sliding because you have to time your slide just right sometimes. But I kind of like the concept. It reminds me of I think it's the old Minnesota Twins baseball stadium. They used to have something like that. But all turf makes it look really really weird because obviously why it's turf, so why not just make it all dirt? I guess whatever, grass where it needs to be and dirt where it needs to be. But it is very interesting. But this is definitely my favorite thing to talk about. It's like, hey, they were a really good team. Their field's ugly. Their jerseys
Right.
are ugly. It's my favorite thing to do because like you said, we have meetings with all the coaches and all the administration and everything, and obviously we have so much power to be able to change those things. But
Oh,
anyway,
absolutely.
I agree with you there.
When they're watching this, like they have been,
Right? Yeah.
then we don't even need to meet with them. They'll just, they'll write it down and they'll take it to their next meeting. If they have questions, we'll just tell them we're able to take any call.
Well,
You
and
know,
that's why Alabama's not wearing their digital camo first game of Omaha.
yeah. Did you
They
notice they for their picture day outside the stadium they weren't wearing the camo? Yeah,
so they already heard us, but we talked to them before we even got on to record this episode.
yeah.
So
We can't let y'all know first before we let them know because
right,
then we can't just say stuff and not do anything about it. We'll do
yeah,
something about it and fill y'all in on our opinion after the fact. So.
right. That's
But
right.
happy to be making a difference here in the college football uniform world and in the ugly field world here. So
Yes. Yeah,
doing
we're
what we
top
can.
dogs there. Top dogs.
Well, Eli, we got two more super regional games here to cover. Two of my favorite games to watch of last weekend here. We'll start with, well, not start, we'll go with Troy and Little Rock here. Troy did win both games. They won the Saturday game 7-2, and they won the Friday game 12-2 there. So, first game winning 12-2 really kind of surprised me. I expected Little Rock to put a little more fire under their belt there. And then the Saturday game there cut it a little bit closer, but Troy ultimately dominated the super regional matchup the whole time. One of my favorite things about this regional was the environment there in Troy. I actually saw, I don't know if you saw the video where the city of Gulf Shores sent Troy 1,000 seats, like bleacher seats, to be able to fill their outfield up to
Wow.
make sure that
I didn't see
all
that.
their fans had a place to sit. And if you looked in the outfield, they had a bouncy house out there the whole time. And one of my favorite tweets of the weekend said the European mind can't comprehend a USA red, white, and blue bouncy house behind the bleacher seats at Troy playing for a spot in the College World Series. And that sums it up perfectly. I love it. Eli, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's Troy. They've proven that they can make it to
You were hating on
Omaha.
them earlier.
I yeah, that's why I'm not saying much because I good thing they made it to Omaha. Obviously, they have more than I can ever say. I didn't even make the high school baseball team, so or middle school for that matter. So, my opinion's very small, maybe, but somebody wants to hear it, I guess. But nonetheless, I think Troy is a good baseball team, and they've obviously showed that or shown that. It's just now that they're in Omaha, I think they're going to come back to reality just a little bit there. But they are one of the two teams out of the eight that this is their first time ever making to Omaha. West Virginia, this is their first time in school history. This is also Troy's first time in school history. Would say though, if UNA would have won the ASUN, they would have been here. Just realistically, they probably would have had to play Mississippi State, but they would be in the spot Mississippi State was in. Obviously joking. I don't anyway. But I think it was a good series. It was fun to watch. But any baseball around this time of year, especially college, getting into the postseason, it's a lot of fun. So I think Troy is a team to look out for. Definitely don't need to take them lightly, but I think their Cinderella story ends pretty quickly in Omaha.
I'm not even gonna say anything on that. I'll let you have to explain that when we do our predictions here in just a minute. I'll let you explain why you're hating on Troy because I have a feeling based on that comment where your prediction for that game is going to stand.
Time will tell.
But hey, like we said, they got there. They're in Omaha. They're playing with only 7 other teams. When only 7 other teams besides them in the country are playing right now, Troy is still playing. And I love their coach after they won that super regional. He said, "You can say what you want. We're going to enjoy this as much as we can right now because there's only 8 teams in the country still playing baseball at this point, and Troy's one of them." And I think that sums it up great. That's how you have to look at it. I had a coach that always would go and say, the thing we're trying to do here is we're just trying to delay how long we can keep playing in the postseason. That's all you're trying to do, and that's what Troy's been able to do. First time in school history. That's just I think of the guys on that team and how awesome of an experience this all must be for them. And the amount of support they've gotten has actually been awesome. I mean, watching that Troy and Little Rock Super Regional game, I mean, that place was packed. Arguably, that first game was, had a bigger crowd turnout than the first game of the Alabama St. John's game. If you want to put apples to apples there, it really was impressive. The whole state of Alabama, between the Troy Super Regional, Auburn Super Regional, Alabama Super Regional, had a lot of great baseball going on last weekend there. So awesome to see there. I'll be rooting for Troy, and I'll save my predictions for the next few minutes of how I think that's going to turn out there. But anyway, we have our last Super Regional to talk about, and I saved it for last because this was my favorite by far last weekend to watch. We had Mississippi State and Georgia. This, to me, felt like the national championship of Super Regionals. I mean, this was awesome.
Yeah.
I was glued to the TV for all of these games. So, Eli, what did you think about the Super Regional here?
Georgia is the best team in the country, and it's not even close in my opinion. Mississippi State, great ball club, but Georgia was obviously just better. I mean, game one they were down 7-0 and came back and won the game 13-12. So if that tells you anything, Georgia's hot, but they've been hot all season. They haven't wavered like UCLA did in the postseason. They have stayed true to how they've played, and they have played really, really sound baseball. And I think obviously, this is before any of the Omaha games get played. I think the two teams that I am going to have potential winners is Georgia and North Carolina. And that's in my heart of hearts. I haven't looked necessarily at the bracket to see if that's possible. They could even play each other, it looks like. So that could be very, very interesting there, especially if they somehow ended up playing each other, which is definitely a possibility because they're on two opposite sides of the bracket. But like you said, it was the best series. It was definitely the national championship per se of supers. It was a lot of fun to watch. There were a lot of runs, especially in game one, and a lot of things that Georgia did a lot better than Mississippi State. And anytime you can do something better than the next team, more than likely you're going to win the game. So overall, really great series there. But that's really all I had on.
Yeah, I'm just really going to echo what you said. I've been high on this Georgia team for a while. It's scary how good this Georgia team is this year. I mean, Mississippi State is an incredible team. Mississippi State could go win games in Omaha. There's no doubt about that in my mind at all. And Georgia just said, I don't care how many runs you put up. I don't care, how down we get. We're going to go out there. We're going to swing the bats like we are trying to do damage. And that's what they did the whole Super Regional. I mean, this series just felt like home run after home run after home run. There was never a moment where either team was up that I thought, okay, this score is going to hold for multiple innings at a time. Yeah. I mean, it was just an offensive explosion. Pitching, I don't want to even say pitching struggled. I just think you were into two teams that have such good hitters that can do so much damage that it didn't matter what pitcher you threw out there or where you ran over to the mound. It didn't matter. These two teams are going to go up there. They're going to step up there, and they're just going to score runs because that's what they do, and that's what we saw in the Super Regional. So from a fan perspective, super, super fun to watch. And my takeaway there is to Mississippi State, I'm sorry you had to run into Georgia. That's all I can really say there.
Yeah.
Georgia, you have all my respect, and you are a dang good baseball team heading into Omaha. And that's really all I had to say there.
Well, I guess at this point we will move straight into talking about our predictions for Omaha. So how the bracket is set up here is West Virginia will play Troy in the first game, 1 p.m. I don't know if it doesn't say if it's Central or Eastern time, but I just looked it up on NCAA.com. So 1 p.m. Not sure if it's Eastern or Central, so keep that in mind. But West Virginia and Troy is the first game. How the bracket works, everybody, it's kind of like right now it's a double elimination type deal. So if West Virginia wins, they'll be in the winner's bracket, and if Troy loses, then they'll play the winner or the loser of Ole Miss and North Carolina. But once you lose two there, you're out. So our first game is going to be West Virginia versus Troy. So Carson, what are your predictions for this game?
I'm going to go West Virginia in this game, but
Oh, what is
this
that?
might surprise people. I'm going to go close. I really am going to go close. I think Troy has. I talked about Alabama having nothing to lose and everything to gain. Troy's right in the same boat. I mean, who knows? Let's be realistic. Then the next time Troy's going to get to Omaha, they're going to come out shooting everything they have in their chambers here. So I'm going to go West Virginia, but close.
So I agree that it could be close just for the sole fact that I don't think West Virginia is as good as they look because Cal Poly I don't think was that good. But at the same time, I also don't think Troy's that good. So in that sense, I think it could be close with you, but that's just me kind of agreeing with you there, but I'm not really agreeing with you because I don't think it's going to be close. I think there's a chance it could be close, but I'm going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I think West Virginia is going to win another couple 12-2 games and move on. Now, obviously, if they win this first game, they may never see Troy again, but Troy also has a chance to bounce back. And they could very much so do that, but I don't think that's the case. I think West Virginia is going to win this game one pretty handedly.
Let's keep moving on here.
Yeah.
We also have in the Friday game lineup, we have North Carolina and Ole Miss. Eli, who you got?
This one's tough. This one's really tough. I'm really high on North Carolina, and again, just 5 minutes ago, I said I think it's going to be between North Carolina or Georgia. Not saying they necessarily play each other, but I think one of the two teams is going to win the whole thing. So because I said that, and because I think North Carolina is really good, I think they're at least going to beat Ole Miss here. I just don't think Ole Miss has what it takes. Now, North Carolina, though, has not blown any team out. It's been, hard fought, like we're going to come back in this game. But the reason why I really hold fast in North Carolina is because even if they're down, they still have a shot. So it's never over till it's over for North Carolina. So in that aspect, I am going to pick North Carolina to beat Ole Miss.
I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I think I'm going to go Ole Miss. I just think Ole Miss knows how to play June baseball better than almost anybody. They just know how to get it done when they need to. They really value the opportunities that they have. So I'm going to go Ole Miss here, also close. I think we're going to have two close games tomorrow to start off the College World Series. So give me the Rebels of Ole Miss beating North Carolina.
Well, moving right along to the second half of the bracket, we have Alabama versus Oklahoma. So, Carson, who are you going to pick?
I'm going to take Alabama here, and some might call this a Alabama homer pick. But if you want to go back to this season, Alabama did win this series. So this is not, shouldn't be too abnormal of a pick for anybody. Oklahoma is red hot, but Alabama is too. I don't know who they're starting. I would expect them to start Tyler Fay, who's usually their Friday night starter guy, and that way they have him the rest of the back half of the College World Series if need be, which they will definitely use him if they get there. So I'm going to go Alabama here. I'm also I'm kind of on par with saying this so far, but I do think this game is going to be close. I think this game might come down to the last couple innings here, but I am going to take the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Eli, who are you going to pick?
I'm also going to go with Alabama here. I think Alabama is a really good baseball team. They have definitely shown that, like we have talked about. I think Oklahoma is a good baseball team, but I think they're kind of going to start to run out of gas here. But obviously, they always have a bounce-back game. Obviously, it would stink to lose the first game in Omaha, but it's not a one-and-done type deal yet. So I think they're definitely going to be okay, and they may even make it back to play Oklahoma or to play Alabama again. They would probably have to get through the likes of Texas and Georgia, but at the same time, that is a possibility. So I think I am going to also go Alabama here. They've just been on fire, and I think that they'll just keep on dishing, especially if, like you said, Faye, I think is his name. I'm sure he'll probably start the first game. So if he pitches like he can, I think they will pull it out. But I think it's going to be one of the most fun games to watch in this first set of games.
Absolutely. So we'll move right along here into our last pick here. So this is the final fourth round game, or first round game, excuse me. We have Texas and Georgia. Eli, what do you think? This is a great matchup here. I can't believe we get to see this in the opening round.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very close game. Again, I think I'm going to have to go with my gut and go with Georgia here, just because, again, I did say I think either them or North Carolina are going to be the two teams to not cut down the nets, because it's not basketball, but to win the national championship. So I am going to stick with my gut here, and I'm ultimately going to go with Georgia.
I've said every game is going to be close up until this point, and this is where I break that chain. Give me the Bulldogs big in this game. I think Georgia comes out just slugging like they have been. I think they put up at least 10 runs here. I mean, this Georgia team is on fire, and I don't really see Texas being able to slow down that offense enough here to pull out this game. I look for Texas to be a season killer here in the elimination bracket, but ultimately I do think Georgia is going to blow the Longhorns out of the water.
Interesting. Well, it'll be a good first slate of games, and I really think that's all we have planned for you guys for this episode. We will try and keep you guys updated. We may even try and post on Instagram, because I don't know if we'll be able to pump out another episode to keep up with the series, because, well, we may be able to. It'll be interesting to see. We'll kind of keep up with it and see, but we will definitely keep posting our predictions on Instagram. And if nothing else, maybe we can get on and do something quick, and then maybe just post it to Instagram so you guys have something to look forward to there. But if nothing else, we will have obviously these games lined up to be posted on Instagram, so you can see who we have, and then you'll have this episode to listen to. And then from here on out, we'll see how many episodes we can get in. If not, we might even be able to go live for a minute on our College Lineup Instagram. That may be something fun to do, and just do a breakdown of the games after every night or something, because that would save us a little time, and that may be interesting, so everybody can get live input from that. But I really enjoyed this episode. Carson, again, thank you. It's always a pleasure to get on for a little while, and we'll hopefully have this one out for you guys, hopefully before Omaha starts. If not, maybe the day after. But our picks, like we said, will be on our Instagram. So I think that's all we got. We will see you guys next time on the College Lineup.